Peace, peace. I would say welcome to the versatile experience, but I'm kind of just freestyling tonight and going live because I've been watching this dude, man, for a minute, and it's interesting watching this dude, Joe Baker. I follow Joe Baker's page. Joe Baker has been educating me, man, like because we share a commonality, and that's the fact that we were both away from society for a while. And because of my professional position now, I kind of stray away from it. I don't dwell on the past because I'm focusing on the present. But I like his stories, man. I like his stories, and I like his way of painting vivid pictures of what took place for him. You know, inside, and it's crazy because civilians may think that prison is prison, but it absolutely isn't. Prisons are different, man. Depending on where you at. I was in federal prison. Federal prison is very different. Joe Baker was in Tennessee State Prison, and I'm very familiar with Tennessee State Prison, which is why I like his stories because I have partners in their state prison who were actually incarcerated with Joe Baker. And I like, he's educated me a lot, man. Being from the East Coast, I don't really know a lot about the Midwest culture and terminology, how they view things, how they move, and his. So if you're not familiar with Joe Baker, man, go follow Joe Baker on on what's this on YouTube, man. Funny but real, you know what I'm saying? Like he's funny, but his stories are real. His stories are actually happened. So I'm gonna try my this is my attempt because Joe Baker and I have different experiences, but similar experiences. I like his perspective because it's from a perspective of a gangbanger. He was one of the guys, right? And I learned through listening to him what one of the guys meant. That meant he was GD, right? And we didn't have any GDs when I was out. And when I got in, I ran into some GDs when I was in Maryland, and they were peculiar to me. You know what I'm saying? Like they moved a lot different than the Crips and the Bloods. But I do remember they were from like Chicago. They were from Chicago, and they were two GDs, and I didn't know then what they were, but I remember they used to wear that little star. You know what I'm saying? I think it's the 6 point star, maybe five. I don't know. It was a star they wear. The GDs wear, and no disrespect, I'm not familiar with the culture enough to remember what the star. I remember it represented like um I don't remember. I know GD stands for growth and development, right? I know that. But anyway, so this is my story. I know you saw my caption or whatever. Um, Man, I got a lot of stories, and they're different than Joe's because I wasn't in the same, wasn't living the same life as him. So I tell this story, right? I so I'm from, I was locked up in North Carolina. I was raised in Virginia, so I'm an out of town dude, basically, right? And this North Carolina system is a lot different than Virginia state system. Um, as I'm in North Carolina system, I'm learning how they move. I'm learning. I'm super observant, right? I was about 24, 24. I was 24, and I had a gun charge. I was locked up for a felon with a firearm, a convicted felon in possession of a firearm. And I ended up getting 12 to 15 months, which is not a lot of time, right? If you're seasoned, that's a cakewalk. That's a slap on the wrist when you get a year. You know what I'm saying? I basically had a year, man. I was didn't get if I don't get in trouble, I had to do 12 months. If I got in trouble, I had to do 15. So my max was 15, and that's for having a gun. And I didn't even have a gun, man. But I was found guilty of it. But that's neither here nor there. While I was doing that time, I was at this honor grade spot, right? I remember I was at this honor grade. And in North Carolina prison system, they got green clothes and they got brown clothes, right? So the green clothes is low security. Green clothes is almost an equivalent to the camp in the feds, right? Because in the feds, they wear green clothes when they're at the camp. That's the lowest security. It's sometimes they don't even have a fence. And you might go outside the fence, you ain't in cuffs or nothing, right? So I was in a green clothes joint and we worked outside the fence. We worked at a mental institute, right? It was called Cherry Hospital in Goldsboro, North Carolina. This is my birthplace. This is where I was born. Family members, while I was working there, I had family members who worked at Cherry Hospital. Like a lot of the people in the city worked at, wasn't a lot of industry in Goldsboro. So people worked at Cherry and Oberry Hospital. They worked at the factory, the chicken plant, and stuff like, they didn't have a lot of jobs. It wasn't a lot of opportunity there. So I had family members who had been at Cherry Hospital for a while. Now I'm working at the hospital. Um, and while I'm working at the hospital, and you're gonna see how all this connects, right? I'm working at the hospital, and they would take us in a van to work every day. And I worked on the yard at the hospital. I worked on maintenance. Drove the would push the lawnmower, cut hay, trim hedges. I was certified in outdoor maintenance. So that's what I was doing, right? We was just maintaining the grounds. And then you had other guys who had other jobs there, right? Um, a lot of the guys worked in the kitchen. So these guys worked in the kitchen and they worked with people in what we call the free world, right? The people from the free world worked in the kitchen with them. And through that, that was a desirable location to be in. Really, all of us had jobs where we could spray. You know what I'm saying? When I say spray, I'm talking about we could get some. We could have our old lady come up or wife or girl or whatever, right? And they had little blind spots. They had places on where you can go get it in, right? I was so short with 12 months. I didn't want to put my girl through that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, nah, I'm not even going to do that to my girl. Like, nah, I can wait, yo. Like, I got an incredible patience. You know what I'm saying? So we were young. It's my baby. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, I'm not going to do that. Dudes had their girl coming. They going in an empty building and hitting in an old tub. You know what I'm saying? Like this building is abandoned. You know what I'm saying? It's part of the joint that was like abandoned. And dudes would get their girl to come and park over in the parking lot and they'd go up in there and they'd hit her in the tub. There was a tub in there. Like I ain't even go in there. I didn't even want to see it. Right. So these dudes, like I guess the girl would probably bring like a blanket or something, you know, but I wasn't going to subject my girl to that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even, we can wait. We good. I'm short. You know what I'm saying? So, uh, then there was other guys there who was hitting the crazy women. It's a mental hospital, so you got a lot of women there. They was had mental issues, but they still had a twat. You know what I'm saying? So dudes was getting at them. Like I wasn't one of them, so I had an opportunity. They ain't want but a cigarette. You give them a cigarette, you get head. You give them a pack, they yours for the month. Or like you buy them for cigarettes, right? So a lot of them dudes was laying with them women, man, for cigarettes. I didn't do that either, right? Because like I say, I was short. But my story talks about there was these two dudes there, they were brothers and they had life sentences. And I couldn't figure out how these dudes got life sentences, but they didn't work their way down to green clothes with us, right? So, because of their sentence length, you would assume they'd be in higher custody. These dudes have been in like 15, 20 years, both of them for murder, right? And but they was there. They were at the green clothes with us. And they worked in the kitchen, right? They worked with them free world women, right? So one of them had a girlfriend who worked with him in the kitchen. Now, needless to say, you already know them dudes in the kitchen was handling their business, you know what I'm saying? Like they was getting it in regularly, right? So this was his girl. He got a life sentence. He's working in the kitchen with his girlfriend, who became his girlfriend. He started working. started getting at her when he started working there. And I wasn't his girlfriend when he went in, right? But like when I say his girl, like she coming to visit him, you know what I'm saying? Like this was the weirdest shit. Like how I'm like, how they let her come visit and she worked with him? Like it was weird. But that was permissible. They was allowing that. So dude was having his way, him and his brother, right? So everybody knew they was getting it. He was getting it. They ladies were at work or whatever, right? At least he was. I don't know what the brother was doing, but mind you, I'm from out of town. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, this is my hometown, but I was raised in Virginia, so a lot nobody really knows me, right? So one day we coming in from playing, working out because we had steel there. We working out on the yard or whatever. We working out, and I kind of went in early or something. I don't even remember. I went in early for some reason. So I went in I wanted to get my shower out the way before there was a rush for the shower. Everybody come hit the shower, and it's like a line. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and this is a older jail, low custody. So it's really just like rooms. There's no bars or anything like that, right? We had like a bathroom. It had stalls, but it had a community shower, right? So in the feds, showers are separate. You got shower stalls, so you got a shower to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like you go in there, you close the door, pull the curtain or whatever, right? You shower. You got privacy in the shower. It's one person in the shower. A community stall is where they have a large group of showers affixed along the wall. So you all showering together, and one might be like 10 shower heads in there. So you got 10 people in there showering all together. That's a community shower, right? When you pull back the curtain to go into the community shower, you pull out and you just see a bunch of naked dudes in there, right? So I'm trying to beat the rush because it might be 50 of us in this joint, right? And everybody coming in off the yard at the same time. It's a rush for the shower. Everybody shoot to their bunk, try to get their stuff, get their shower shoes and everything, and shoot to the shower and try to be first. So you can get your joint over with, go watch TV, right? So this is my plan. This is my plan. What I didn't anticipate, right, is what happened next, right? So I go I go in there, brush my teeth, get ready, get in the shower, whatever, right? I go in, I got the towel around, I go in, and I open the gate, the shower curtain. And when I open the shower curtain, I see these niggas in there. I see this dude in there hitting this punk, right? So it's this little punk on the yard with us. He remind me of the little punk from Nerds. I don't know if y'all remember. If you old enough, you remember the Nerds back in the day. They had, was it the Nerds or the Geeks? I think it was the Nerds. Revenge. They had the Nerds and they had Revenge of the Nerds and all that, right? So the Nerds, they had a little black dude on there who was a boy. He was a punk, right? His name like Lamont, something like that. I don't remember his name, but this who this punk looked like, right? He looked like him. He act like he remind me of this dude. So he been on the yard. He the only punk out of like 50 dudes, right? So I don't even remember where he worked at, but dude got this punk in the shower. Yo, it was so funny. Like the way he had him, he had I don't want to be too descriptive on here, right? But he had the pump up in the air. But he had his arms under the punk's legs, and he had these hands up like the punk. They both facing in the same direction. They both facing in the same direction. But he and this little punk. This is little punk. And dude's a big dude. You know what I'm saying? So he got this little punk up in the air. He got his arms under his legs spread, and his hands on his shoulders. So you can imagine how he had this boy. He had him in a pretzel. and it, and the boy head was forward. His head was forward. He up under the boy. The boy legs was over dude's arms like that, and he was just chunking this dude. Yo, and when I pull the shower, I see that, I pull the shower back, and I burn out, yo. I'm like, I'm traumatized, yo. And I told my homeboy, I think I told my homeboy, Sly or Squirrel or one of them, there was a bunch of us in there, what I saw. And it, that was traumatic. And I done seen some things in there, man. But that, that encounter, yo, like, and you can't unsee that. You can't unsee that, like that visual. And I'm just thinking, I'm sitting in there like thinking, like, hey, he ain't see me. You know what I'm saying? Like they was facing the other way. They was facing the other way. So they didn't see me. They was like they didn't see me. He didn't see me. But I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I want to tell this nigga girlfriend. He gonna mess around and get his girl AIDS. He got a real woman. He got a real woman that he dealing with. Like when I say dealing with, he gets opportunities with her. She come to visit him, like they out on visit. She buying food and everything. She's an older lady like him, right? And I'm just looking like, man, I hope he don't get her AIDS. That's all I can think, man. But you'll be surprised how often that's taking place. How often, how it's not, I'm not gonna say like it's like super common, but it happens. It happens. And we see it. We're in there with each other as a man, like some guys, they do what they call minding their business. Man, ain't got nothing to do with me. They ain't got nothing to do with me. So they just stay out them dudes' way and stay out their business, right? A lot of times it's because they might be afraid of them dudes, right? Because, just because a dude mess with boys don't mean he can't fight. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean he won't push that knife, but for me, I don't let him make it. So if I can save a woman's life, I'm gonna save a woman's life, like, and tell her. I just never had an opportunity to tell her. Like, I would have told her. But yeah, that's my story, man. I think I'm gonna be kind of consistent with these, man. Share this, like the video, what is it? Follow me or whatever, right? I got more stories for y'all. That's just my first one, but there's more to come. All right, now how do I stop this thing? In the live, in the live, in the live. Here we go. Peace.